I'm going to be talking about the future of agriculture, something that takes up 1% of the land, zero soil, no pesticides, and way less water. So this is a bit of a unique one for what we normally talk about.
Could I say one thing about agriculture?
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay. I was talking to someone the other day, and he works at an agricultural startup.
Okay.
And so what they do is they do testing in and around farms to test the air quality and to test whether there is pollutants or sprays and stuff in the air from other farming around there and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I said, that's interesting. So you've just got like these units on poles, and they obviously suck in air, and there's a filter in there, and that filter just checks the particles and whatever. And there's some AI in there where the person who's working at this startup is identifying pollutants and things that shouldn't be in the air, and it's teaching the machine how to do that itself, right? Just by
that's cool.
And it sounds really cool. And he goes, that's actually that. He goes, that's how it works. But he's like, you're the first person who's ever thought that there's like on the ground. He's like, any other person I've ever asked thinks that they're drones in the air. I was like, why would you have drones flying around in the air? He's like, everyone literally thinks it's that. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. And so there you go.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they're just stuck on poles. Anyway.
Well, the actual topic that I'm talking about is vertical farming. So this is why it's the future. So vertical farming. Okay. So why is it necessary to have a vertical farm in the first place is what you might be thinking, right?
I was thinking that, yeah.
Okay, so of the Earth's surface, 29% is land, 71% is ocean, right? Okay. So, and pay attention to these numbers. It's going to get better, right? So of this land, this 29% land, 71% is habitable.
Okay.
And of this habitable land, 46% is used for agriculture.
Okay.
And so this 46% or 48 million kilometers squared has 23% of the land used for crops, and the rest is animal agriculture. And so that's actually a huge amount of environment.
We should stop eating meat.
Well, I'm more focusing on the 23% in this section, the crops, but you can if you want. That's up to you.
Controversial.
Make your own decisions. And so anyway, this huge amount of land is used for crops, right?
Okay.
And so it's actually a huge amount of environment that has to be destroyed in order to support that agriculture.
That's very true.
Because in order to have
we should
crops,
stop eating plants.
Well, we should start eating vertical farmed plants.
We should just eat meat. Beef.
Because
wasn't it beef?
Yeah, well, beef. Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah.
Jordan Peterson eats that, I think.
Meat only. Yeah, you could go for a carnivore diet. That's actually really interesting. I've heard a lot of comments on that. It's it switches back and forth from being good and bad for you. So who knows? Try it out for yourself.
As does literally everything in health and nutrition.
It's true. Yeah. So anyway, if you want to have crops, you have to kill fully everything on that area of the farm. Every animal and every insect basically has to be gone.
Yep.
And all those stats are sourced from the UN Food and Agriculture Organization.
Ooh,
so
very reputable.
Vertical farming, some of the main advantages, right?
Yep.
So it uses 1% of the land footprint. Usually the farm is able to be placed in a building that's the same size as a Costco. So if you think about that, you think about a full farm basically folding up into something that's that small, right?
Okay, yeah.
So 700 acres can condense into a single warehouse is what that
like
means.
A big Bunnings or a big Costco.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
So if you think about something like that, so for context, that's 529 football fields or 2.8 square kilometers.
What? Just stacked on top of each other.
That can fit. No, well, that's the size of a farm that can be fit into a warehouse, right?
All right.
And so, but it's not. Well, it's less than stacked.
It's less than stacked.
So it's a different format.
Okay.
So, I've seen two different formats. One of them they had trays, and so the trays were actually raised up vertically like that. But some of them are individual floors of a warehouse, basically.
Yeah.
Each floor contains plants that were literally grown vertically. So
what do you mean
basically
grown vertically?
So basically you have a wall and plants are growing sideways.
Oh.
And basically
is that
how
what
it
you
works,
mean by vertical farming?
Yeah, so basically there's a whole wall of plants and then a whole wall of LEDs.
The heck?
And then on the other side of those LEDs, it's facing the other way and facing another wall of plant. Basically like all greenery.
It would be limited on the type of crop you could grow though. Like if you're growing tomatoes, they're all just going to fall off.
Well, there's they were growing strawberries there, and they were growing a lot of greens, a lot of kale, a lot of
Yes, I can imagine
a lot of
that.
spinach and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I don't think it's entirely limited
Wow.
in that sense.
I mean, it's smart people work on this stuff. Wow.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Okay,
So
great.
basically, in the process of farming, 99% of the water is actually is kind of lost when you're 99% of the water that's used in this process
Yes.
can be recycled. Sorry.
Yes.
Heaps, but a lot of the water is lost in farming, basically. And so all that recycled water can recirculate and re-water the crops again. So that's one of the huge advantages.
Yep.
Another issue is that the growth cycle can be controlled better because it's not in outdoor conditions.
Yep. Definitely.
So the cycle of crops in this case came down to about 10 days.
Yep.
Which means that a vertical farm can yield 700% more than a traditional farm
Wow.
for the same area.
Wow.
So in that 1% of space, it can yield 700% more.
Wow.
Because they can grow so many things
Yep.
right next to each other. And a lot of these farms are using robotics and automation to move trays around, move plants around, move LED
Do you know
lights.
in which countries this is happening?
So it's mostly in the US at the moment.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll run through a few examples later on.
Great.
We'll put a footnote there.
Perfect.
So only some of the Earth's surface obviously can be used for farmland. So in using these, basically you could grow plants. I'm thinking of areas like Sweden and like Norway and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also areas like say Arizona, for example, where it's like heaps deserty and heaps, there's not much area where you can actually grow stuff. You could have a town there, and for example, you could have a vertical farm which meets some of the needs or all of the needs of that town.
The local area, yep.
So that's just kind of a future thought.
Love it.
Obviously, they're not at that level yet.
Yep.
That's
good, actually. And if it's like a big warehouse, you could put solar panels all on the top because it's so hot there, right?
Well, exactly. Yeah.
And then that provides all of your energy. Mate, this is fantastic.
Yeah, so vertical also allows air to flow more easily, light can be spread easier, and crops can be watered easier. So you can circulate. A lot of these have really cool water circulation systems where the water's flowing around and there's pumps and different things that are kind of sorting.
Yep.
Also, harvesting can happen 365 days a year.
Yep.
So obviously there's huge limitations on actual farming with winter and everything like that. So
I suppose you'd need some purpose-built machines to harvest this stuff. But
yeah. There's a lot of purpose-built pieces of it.
Yep.
So there's no bugs or insects or birds or animals. So birds won't be in there eating stuff.
No, totally.
Animals won't be eating stuff or dumping on all over your plants and stuff like that, like they do. There's no bugs or insects spreading diseases, basically.
Yeah.
And so obviously that's like a really good.
That was a thing.
What was?
We had to kill all the bees.
All the bees, yeah,
Did you
that's
hear
right.
about that?
Yeah. So tomatoes in the US currently are grown more for durability than flavor. So there's a fun fact.
What do
for
you mean they're grown more for durability?
So what that means is they're built so that they can sit on a truck or a train for 3 to 4 days, and then warehousing and shelving for 1 to 2 days. And so one of the major advantages is building a vertical farm right in the middle of a city, so that you could grow tomatoes that can just go to sitting on a shelf for 1 to 2 days instead of.
Oh, you're saying we could grow nicer tomatoes?
Yeah. So basically,
which are optimized for taste, not.
Yeah. So these in the US particularly, a lot of things are grown so that they've chosen the genetics so that they can.
That makes sense.
They're a bit tougher and they're a bit
totally makes sense.
A bit more preserved.
But we don't have to optimize for that anymore. We
exactly.
can optimize for flavor.
Exactly. And so
I like that. Okay.
There's less of that.
I love tomatoes too.
Also no. So also heaps. I don't know if I mentioned it. There's no pesticides needed for keeping off the bugs and everything like that. So that's one of the advantages.
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to do something.
Well, apparently not. So these don't. These don't even need to be washed. Is what the
But you still get bugs still exist inside.
Well, not in these facilities. They're like labs. So if you ever see them, they have like sealed doors. And people put on hazmat suits and work on them.
Wow, it's a serious business.
And they're full of exactly. So just to give you an idea of how serious it is, I'm moving on to the cost to set one of these up. So the functioning vertical farm I watched a video of in San Francisco was $100 million to set up.
Wow.
So it's under a brand called Plenty.
That's cool.
But the price is currently rapidly declining to set one of these up just because of the technology, because more and more people are reaching economies of scale. There's multiple companies that are bidding for the same technology. So those technology companies make more robotics and things like that. So a lot of it is robotics and production line robotics.
Yep.
And then there's a few people walking around doing some of the certain tasks.
Yes.
And so Plenty is the name of that brand.
Plenty.
And it's upscale on the shelves at the moment. Bit of a premium price,
Ah,
but they're leaning into a higher
I
quality
bet
as
it's at
well.
Whole Foods.
Yeah, it definitely would be. So it's a bit more of a pesticide-free product.
Yeah.
And they're also currently building a second location in Compton, which is a highly populated area.
Oh.
So that one,
Is Compton like New York?
Compton's in LA. It's like the hood.
It is the hood.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so
Compton,
they're currently building one which will provide 200 jobs.
200 jobs
and
to build it, or that's the sort of maintenance and running of it?
That's the running.
The running of it. Oh,
once
yeah,
it's,
great.
Once it's up and running.
Okay.
And so that'll be their second location. They've got a $250 million worth of VC funding.
So this is now turning to a company focus. This is interesting. So
Yeah,
Plenty. Okay, interesting.
exactly. And so this is where the next one steps in.
Okay.
A farm called Bowery. Now, when I saw this, it seemed like a smaller scale operation,
Mhm.
but I actually looked it up, and the video was older. The articles and stuff were a bit older that I
Okay.
was kind of initially looking at.
Yep.
And so they initially set up a New Jersey facility with $30 million in funding, and that was set up in basically an industrial estate.
Yep.
And so in 2021, it looks like they've raised a Series C of $325 million.
Oh, that's significant. Starting with 30. Okay.
And so that was 2021.
Okay.
2022, they've secured a new lending facility of $150 million.
Okay, all right.
So its total debt and equity balance is currently at $647 million.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild for just this kind of idea that most people haven't really thought of. Like
Totally.
they haven't really figured out that vertical farms exist or what they are or why it's better.
Yep.
And so,
are you aware of properties that they also own? Like, are they functioning, or are they? What
so they've
Bowery
got.
doing?
It looks like they've got 3 to 4 facilities at the moment.
Okay.
But they're distributed to 800 stores
there
at
you
the
go.
moment. So that's pretty cool. And they are in the process of setting up 2 new ones at the moment. So I think that's what the funding
Love it.
would be going towards, and then the debt as well would be going towards, which is cool.
Yes.
So onto a bit more of the way that they operate. So the LED lighting, they use LED lights instead of sunlight to keep the plants growing.
Yep.
And this means that there's a lot of power that's required
Can you do
to.
that 24/7? Do plants need sleep?
No, you can do it 24/7.
Okay,
so,
great. So they might, like hypothetically, they'd grow almost twice as fast.
Yeah,
Right.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, I didn't think of that, but yeah, I believe they do.
I mean, I don't know,
round-the-clock
but that's just an
stuff.
assumption. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe they keep it running
Yeah, cool.
and
Okay.
automated. Such a funny question. Answer below. Do plants need sleep? that's actually really good. I've never thought of that.
Well, some flowers, they go to sleep and then they come back out every day.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but
Clearly.
that'd be pretty funny. So this is really cool. So the flavors of certain plants can actually be modified to meet certain taste profiles.
Yeah.
So modifying the output of the LED lights, the company, for example, has can add more blue light to generate a more crisp flavor.
Really?
And so they've been doing this and selling
I
that
would not
particular
expect that.
product. The particular product goes to
Okay.
a restaurant in San Francisco, I think.
Oh, they like the blue light.
They like the
crispy
crisp flavor. One of the employees was saying how they take it home. They make the kale into a pesto, and then they put it on their pesto pasta.
Wow.
People come around and try it, and it's apparently amazing.
Okay.
I mean, of course,
Where did
they
you get
got
this information.
they
This
got to
is so
talk about their own product. I mean, they got to say it's amazing. They work there,
That's true.
but I'm sure it is good.
Okay.
It sounds like it'll be a really interesting experience to try it. Like I'd love to try it now.
To try
now that
the
we're
crispy food.
something that's from a vertical farm.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah,
if you could do a taste test, and you could have like
That'd be great.
your farm grown spinach
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
vertical farm spinach, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
It looks like obviously it's primarily greens at the moment, but they're working on new products. So basically they spend a lot of time lab testing and whatever to see what they can grow
Yeah.
and see how they can grow it better and see how it's safe and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously the energy use, we were talking about that. So you could build one so you need to be close to a source of water and you need to be close to a source of power.
Yes.
Now, I don't know exactly how much, but I would assume it's like a huge amount to run something like this.
Well, some of these LED fixtures are pretty efficient nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, the LED would be one of the reasons that the cost would have come down over time
Yeah,
as well, just
yeah.
because traditional lighting and whatever,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
using
No,
100% more,
Yeah.
light or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I was just going to ask one question on that, which is that, like, how much of the plant's nutrients come from the sun? And that's a question that we maybe don't know the answer to. And so, like, is it reducing the I don't know, the health benefits of this food by giving it this synthetic lighting?
so you would think so, but I think that the benefit of so it's all about energy use, right?
Yeah, okay.
And so the LED, basically the LED system, the closer that you are to the source of power, the closer that energy is transferred from that source of power to the LED.
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, you're losing some there, right?
Yep.
And then the plant absorbs a certain amount of energy from the LEDs, right?
Yeah, photosynthesis.
And so exactly, yeah. And so then you want to make minimal loss to the lighting, and you want to make minimum loss from the power source, right?
Yeah.
And so if you can work out those two efficiencies, you'll basically have a more efficient system, and you'll have a more efficient farm. So I think it blasts it with as much light, because I think that the only benefit that the sun is giving is that light.
Okay.
So
yeah, cool.
I'm pretty sure it's the light bouncing off the
Love it.
off the
Again,
plant.
clarify in the comments if anyone's got any other opinions.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I'll say it more factually. The LED provides the light to the plant, which is all that the plant needs, other than water. So, so there we go.
Love it.
So you can basically optimize that to get the best yields. And so a lot of these places are actually, they're all like white painted warehouses. So like everything's white in the warehouse.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is about reflection.
Yep.
About reflecting all the different light onto those onto those pieces. A lot
reflecting as opposed to absorbing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really interesting because so they'll have huge walls of LED lights, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at the plants, when you're looking at a normal plant, you'll see heaps of shadows. There's one source of light, like it's coming from one direction.
Yeah.
Which I think is part of the reason they get 700% increases in crop yields.
Yeah.
It'll be the overnight thing.
Yep.
And it'll also be because there's no shadows on these plants when you're looking at them.
That's a good point.
And
so every leaf is absorbing as much as any other leaf.
The maximum amount.
That's really cool.
And so they'll have a full wall of plant, and they'll have a full wall of that. And there's all of these plants are really well lit. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, there's no shadows there.
No,
so,
like in this situation where we are right now, like the one side of a plant is only going to get sunlight for half of the day.
Exactly.
And the other side is not going to see sun at that point. So yeah, it's a really good point. Yeah, it's good.
Exactly, yeah. So what would you need to start your own vertical farm?
Apparently $100 million.
$100 million or $30 million. So a lot of these are close to a power supply, close to a water supply. That makes it very efficient.
Or the solar panels, I think, was a good idea.
The solar panels is a great idea. I would imagine a huge proportion of the cost goes towards power and water.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And a lot of these farms are making use of a lot of venture capital money.
Yeah.
So it seems that the minimum setup would be that $30 million. And then most of them seem to cost around $100 million.
It's all relevant. It's all relative to scale.
Exactly. It's all about
if you're going to have 3 plants, it's going to cost you $5.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And no robots. If you want to get a robot and 3 plants, though, it's going to cost you $10 million. So
true.
Basically, what a lot of people will be wanting to know is, can you invest in this idea?
Good question.
So from what I've seen, there aren't that many companies that are actually doing it yet.
Yes.
And all of them seem to be venture funded. So unless you can invest into a VC funded business, or you're an angel investor with the right network, then to the best of my knowledge, it looks like you can't invest yet. However, I think there'll be a huge investment opportunity in the future, because if you looked at one of these companies, which was called Bowery. So if you look at that company, they have a total of $647 million.
That's right.
In total, balance sheet.
Yep.
And so with that, there'll be a lot of investors that are looking to exit at some point.
Yep.
So, whether they list, in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or whatever, it'll be an investment opportunity where you can jump in on that. And I think there'll be many copies behind that once people realize you can publicly list an idea like this.
Yep.
And I think more and more will start up as they've also seen this happening. So it's
Yeah.
a really cool industry.
I like it.
I give the idea an 8 out of 10.
Okay, that's a good rating.
So the advantages are that it's potentially cheaper to run in the future if you consider that they're using the land much more efficiently.
Yeah.
And producing way more output for less land, as
Yes.
well as less destruction to the environment.
Yes.
And it could be a lot more efficient if it's placed in the right area.
Yep.
Where people are obviously they can afford to pay the premium, as well as it might actually work out to be cheaper. For example, the mountains in Switzerland, where people like better food, and they also have to transport their food to those mountains, right?
Yeah.
So it's it also will get cheaper if you consider that technology and robotics will actually come down in cost.
Yeah.
The disadvantages are that they're disrupting a massive industry, and it's currently hugely expensive to set up. So
Arguably the first ever industry, really.
yeah,
Like farming, agriculture, like
for sure.
that's where it all started.
I guess so. So that's that
That's good.
segment
So
there.
I guess so what you're saying is it's basically the things that I took away from that is you're removing the inefficiencies of day and night,
Yep.
and you're smoothing out the whole issue of seasons, which is cool for the consumer. Like, different seasons, you go to the shops and you can only buy certain things at different times.
Yep.
Or like at one point, grapes are $20 a kilo because it's the wrong season,
Yeah.
And then the transport cost is such a good point as well. Like up until this point, we've always had to manufacture or grow this stuff out in the middle of nowhere, transport it. It's bad for the environment. Oh, the Tesla trucks are coming one day.
Yeah.
Like just having the food near the people who are eating it is such a simple concept.
Yeah. Exactly.
And so I love it. It's great. It's a little bit off, a little bit left of center of to what I would expect.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
From a segment, but I think it's great.
Exactly.
Now that you weaved in Bowery and Plenty in there, a couple of companies that people can look up, it's good.
Exactly. Yep.